at practice this afternoon, getting ready for a big matchup tomorrow, facing the Mavericks on Tuesday at Crypto.com Arena. It'll be the first time the Mavs and the Lakers play each other since this enormous trade. And moments ago, Redick, he spoke with reporters about his new star and how he's approaching this game.
I think he'll be fine. Yeah, I think he'll be fine. He's every day that he's been with us, it's becoming just a little bit more normal. I've been there, like the first time you play your old team, particularly this close in time duration. It's going to be weird, but he'll be able to handle it.
So the Lakers, they are 7.5-point favorites tomorrow against Dallas. Luka's over-under points line, it's been set at 30.5 in his first meeting against his former team. It's a little bit of a bummer, though. No Anthony Davis in this one as he continues to rehab from that left adductor strain. Legs, what's your expectation, though, for Luka in this matchup? Because I think he's got this one circled.
Yeah, he definitely has it circled, but unfortunately for him, it is happening too soon, right? So, because he had a great game on Saturday, but he's certainly not ready to do that, I don't think, consistently. That's going to take a little bit more time. That one in April, going to Dallas, obviously that's the big one he's going to be looking at, but he'd love to torch them. There's no question in my mind in this game on Tuesday. He would love to be able to put up numbers and talk to him the entire time and just have a blast out there. I just don't know if he's quite physically ready to do that yet, so we might have to wait until that visit to Dallas in April, and by then it'll be real spicy because they'll probably have Anthony Davis playing, so that's the one we're all going to be waiting for.
What do you think Luka would say if he heard his over-under was only 30.5?
He said, watch me.
Yeah.
Say less.
I mean, look.
Yeah, but he wants 60. He wants 60, though.
That's what I'm saying. He's like, first half, look, sometimes you have bad shooting nights. You can't predict that. Luka just had his best game. I think he's comfortable. He's going to have some a day off here. I think he's going for the kill tomorrow. That's what I don't know what will happen, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting to see Dallas and how they respond to this. They've heard. I just would love to see Anthony Davis be playing. It sucks that he's not playing, but I do think they're going to be motivated. I don't comment on spreads, but I think Dallas will be competitive.
Right. I think Luka coming off of his best game in a Lakers uniform, he is getting ready at the right time. This game means something to him, and I do think that we are going to see that effort on the floor here. It's been over 3 weeks since you blew up all of our nights reporting this trade, Shams. It's kind of hard to believe that this trade was already 3 weeks ago. The Lakers find themselves in fourth in the West, only 2 games out from second. So I think, Brian, it's time for a little Tower of Power, ranking the best teams in the league with less than 2 months left in the season. Brian, first look at Jimmy in person here. We're going to pick this one up, this game against the shorthanded Dallas Mavericks in the first quarter. Jimmy Butler gets the inside jam.
Great play design from Steve Kerr. Perfect setup for him.
And then later in the first here, Steph Curry going to work, hits that step back three. The Warriors up 15 after the first quarter here. Going on to the second.
They're playing good defense, Malika, on Steph.
Well,
what do you want from them?
Jimmy Butler, when he's helping out like this, too, goes inside for the layup. And then about a minute later, Butler, tough floater there, plus right the foul. We need to take another look at that one. Tough-looking shot. To the third, the Warriors continue to cook here. They just control right here the offensive rebound. And then Steph Curry comes up and hits the three. Listen to Steve Kerr and Jimmy Butler mic'd up watching this play.
It's kind of fun watching that, isn't it? I don't want this Saturday, right?
Heck yeah, it's fun to watch that. And then less than a minute later, still the third quarter here, Steph Curry, look who he's picked up by, P.J. Washington.
Not a bad defender.
And
good defense.
Curry, he hits the step back three.
What are you supposed to do?
Steph does the night-night celebration. Here's what Curry said about doing so this early in the game.
So whatever the question is, it's just a moment that I had with somebody on the other side. Longer story.
Let's talk about that longer story, shall we? Curry is referencing this. On 2 separate occasions this year, Washington has hit the night-night in wins against Golden State. on December 15th, another on February 12th. So then when Curry hits the three over Washington last night,
You knew that was coming.
he returns the favor a little bit here, right? Curry finished with 30 points. Golden State gets the win, 126-102.
The ball is moving. Jimmy's making his presence felt. Draymond, orchestrating the offense. Defensively, we're playing well, so just got to keep building. And it's been a good look so far.
The game feels easier right now for us. Jimmy just, the game makes sense when he's out there. He gets to the line. He makes simple plays. He keeps the game in under control for us, and so you can feel the difference for sure.
You can see the difference too, right? The Warriors, they've been elite on both sides of the floor during their 5-1 run since the Butler trade. They rank 6th offensively, 5th defensively in this stretch as well. Tim Legler joining us now. Tim, what has Jimmy Butler brought to Golden State here?
Well, look, we've talked about a lot of the things, and everybody keeps echoing the same things. Obviously, the toughness, the edge, the two-way player, 20 points a game is nice. But for me, I think it's his passing and his ability to understand where to go to occupy open spaces. His IQ is off the charts. We didn't really talk that much about it when Jimmy Butler came to Golden State because we knew they needed his offense. They needed his ability to isolate, get to the foul line. That helps their defense. It helps Steph Curry rest when he's taking, a minute of real time to go shoot those 2 free throws. All of those things matter. But I'm so impressed with his ability to fit in the confines of the continuity of their offense, because that was what you didn't know. How's that going to work out exactly? Well, Jimmy Butler just knows how to play basketball, and that's what Steve Kerr was alluding to. Simple plays that fit, and he keeps the flow moving. You don't have to disrupt anything for Jimmy Butler to be productive. That's been, I think, the biggest breath of fresh air in this acquisition, and there's no doubt they run out of the tunnel different. They feel better about themselves. They feel like they now have enough to compete against whoever's in front of them, and I'm not sure they did prior to Jimmy arriving there.
Malika, this isn't, to me, a honeymoon. This just feels different. You talk about practice, right? In Miami, he really barely practiced. In Golden State, he is practicing. In Golden State, he's staying late, showing up early, in film session, in the meal room, the training room. He's spending time with teammates, trying to ingratiate himself more and more. And the commitment that the Warriors gave him with the extension, that's the same commitment he's given back. And in recent weeks, he's had dinner with Draymond Green. They played dominoes. I do expect him and Stephen Curry to get together here very soon on an intimate level. And what we're seeing here is a repeat of history. You think about players like Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, both playing a lot better since Jimmy Butler has been there. And this is the most important stat to me.
Yeah.
Before Jimmy Butler got there, the Warriors were minus 90 when Stephen Curry was off the floor. With Jimmy Butler's arrival in the last few weeks, the Warriors are plus 30. That alone makes this trade a massive win for the Warriors.
It's always been the Golden State Warriors' sort of issue is how do they contend with the non-Steph minutes? How do they stay afloat in those minutes that he's off the floor? And with Jimmy, they've looked pretty good so far. I think the definition of not being a honeymoon stage is this lasts for a while and they get their goal of being a top 6 seed. How sustainable is that, Brian?
Well, though, they've got the second easiest schedule coming in the West.
Right.
So when you look at that, you also look at it, they're 2 games out of being in 6, which is their goal.
Right.
What I found interesting is what Draymond said. I know some people smiled at it when Draymond said this team can win the championship. I'm going to pay attention to that a little bit. While I'm not certainly saying that, the reason I think he feels that way, number one, he likes the direction of the team. Number two, he's looking at the teams in front and saying, this is really unclear how this is going to fall. You look at the East, the Cavs have been 1 for the whole season. The Celtics have number 2 locked down. The Knicks are pretty solidly in 3. You got a pretty good idea who's going to be 4 or 5. After the Thunder in 1, I don't know what's going to happen in the West.
Right.
And Draymond feeling that and seeing the opportunities here, I'm going to take that into account as I watch how this unfolds.
Well, and as we just showed in the standings here, they won. The Clippers lost. Of course, they were without Norm Powell, without Kawhi Leonard here. But a game and a half essentially separates 6 through 9 here in the Western Conference. It's the Clippers, it's the Timberwolves, it's the Mavericks, it's the Warriors. Who of those 4 teams is healthy right now? Just Golden State. And so you have to take that into account a little bit. But as the Warriors set their sights here on climbing into the top 6, let's just shoot up the standings a little bit. The top of the West, SGA and the Thunder in Minnesota last night. And this was a battle here, Brian. OKC led by as many as 19 before the Wolves had that 30-9 run to end the first year.
This shouldn't have been a game. The Thunder had way bigger advantage in this game with the Wolves missing 3 starters.
And then Jalen Williams launches from the logo, splashes in the 3. Wild first half ends with the Thunder now down 2 again after leading by as many as 19. So to the third we go. Now the Thunder down by 7 here. Alex Caruso misses the 3. But watch again. Wide open Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets that one to go. Thunder down 4 now, Brian.
Yeah, this is where I think the Thunder felt a little bit of pressure and responded. This is the question we have to this team. Can they respond if they face some pressure?
They scored 42 in the third. They're up 7 after 3. So now we're in the fourth quarter here. Close game. But right here with that Chet 3, the Thunder take a 114-112 lead. Later, same score here. Caruso takes it away from here from Jaden McDaniels. The Thunder in transition. SGA pulls up for 3, nails it.
This is vintage Thunder basketball. They're always looking for steals and always getting out in transition. Shai finishes.
Well, Shai, he had the aura, right? 37 points, 8 assists, 8 boards, 3 steals. Thunder win. Here's SGA with our George Sedano.
Yeah, we're still figuring it out. Just kind of scary. We have some moving parts, some new lineups, but it doesn't matter. We come out here and compete together, and everything else just falls where it is. And tonight we did so, we got a W.
Your coach's birthday's today. What'd you guys do for him?
The rookie sang, and then I'm going to go in the back and give him a noogie and pour some water on his head.
That's what everyone wants for their 40th birthday, just a little noogie there. That's what Mark Daigneault, he turned 40 yesterday. But the Wolves, they made this a game. They'll have another shot tonight on the road in Oklahoma City, a little home and home. Tim, though, can anyone challenge this team, OKC, in the West right now?
Well, I just think right now it would be unfair to put anybody in their class. They deserve to be on a shelf by themselves in the Western Conference. The question that remains is, and Wendy was alluding to this, where does it fall after this, and who's going to continue to make moves to close the gap? There's some interesting teams for sure. We just touched on a couple of them with Golden State and the Lakers. But when I look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, they've got the clean sheet. They don't have weaknesses. They've got enough shooting, an elite level offensive player that there's no answer for, ton of depth, bigs, and then most importantly, I think this is the best defensive team I've seen all year. And Minnesota was able to put up a number against them. It still wasn't enough. So for me, Oklahoma City right now is by themselves. Let's see who can try to chase them down.
Can I just make a quick comment about this game? Thunder were great, finished strong. Ant Edwards, who is playing again, missing some guys.
Yeah.
He got his 14th technical in this game. And I understand that Ant is an emotional player. We don't want to trap that down. But 14 techs, 16 techs is a suspension. He's got to be very careful going forward here. This team, with where they are in the standings, and they've had some losses because they've had injuries, they can't afford him getting suspended.
Absolutely.
And we were all over Luka Doncic earlier in his career when he was dancing around with these types of situations. He's been suspended for techs. Ant has got to hold himself to a standard to control his emotions. And in this game, he could have gotten the tech earlier. The referee actually gave him some rope. And so I think that's something to just pay attention to going forward with the Timberwolves.
You mentioned also the Timberwolves. They are shorthanded right now. As for Minnesota, help could be on the way here, Shams. Maybe not tonight, but what more can you tell us?
Yeah, Malika, so Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, they are out tonight, but there is optimism that they'll be able to make their return to the lineup. At some point, the team is on a 4-game road trip. Tonight in Oklahoma City is when it starts. It ends Sunday in Phoenix. Julius Randle had really started to come on. The Timberwolves were 10-4 before Julius Randle suffered a groin strain in his last 14 games, including 5 wins in a row. So getting him back, Dante DiVincenzo was also shooting the ball very well from the field before his toe injury.
Yeah, the Timberwolves, I mean, Ant told me that it's been a roller coaster of a season for them, and partly, right, because of those injuries. Hey, before we head to break, though, in case you missed it,
What I said earlier, don't touch me, I'm sizzling.
He's sizzling.
The Pistons are sizzling, Malika.
Sizzling. I mean, Cunningham started the game on fire, dropping 29 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds in the first half alone. So to what degree of sizzling has Cade been this season, Wendy?
How about all-NBA level sizzling, which would be Supermax stuff, wouldn't it be, Shams? Also, I would like to point out that they have won 6 games in a row, and they're now 4 games in the loss column clear to have the 6th seed to be in the play-in ahead of Orlando. How about the Pistons? 14 wins last year and straight in the playoffs.
This is what Mark Jones would say, hotter than fish grease. All right, next up, let's go to Toronto. That's where Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, they combined for 76 points in a loss to the Raptors, who outscored the Suns 22-6 in the last 5 minutes of the game. Legs, was this Suns team only ever good on paper?
Apparently so, Malika, and it's obviously not trending in the right direction now either. They've lost 9 out of 12. They gave up 20 made threes to a Toronto team with 18 wins and got manhandled on the glass.
Next up, the Grizzlies and the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers defeated Memphis to win their 7th straight. They're now 42-0 when leading entering the 4th quarter. Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley scored or assisted on 85 points in the game. Windy, should we be giving their duo, Mitchell-Mobley, a little more credit?
They were so good in this game, and also the big men, 20 more rebounds than the Grizzlies. Mobley, 25 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. Awesome performance.
Finally, we finish with an Eastern Conference clash between the Knicks and the Celtics here in this one. Jason Tatum uses the screen to drill the three. The Celtics lead 64-43 going into halftime. So to the third now. Knicks trail by 22. Josh Hart finds Karl Anthony Towns, nails the deep three. So now the Knicks down by 19. About 25 seconds remaining. Knicks down 10. Brunson works the screen, drills the three. Brunson had 22 points. 4 of 9 from 3 in this game. The Knicks cut the lead down to 7. And here comes Kristaps Porzingis, Wendy.
Back door there. You got to keep an eye on Porzingis always.
And then the very next play here, Towns attacks the paint, misses the dunk. He seems to hurt maybe his knee on the landing. He would, though, return later in the 4th quarter. It was, though, just a little bit too late. The Celtics up 14. Tatum kicks it to Brown, nails the three. Brown had 24 points, 8 rebounds. Tatum 25, 10, and 9 in this one. The Celtics get the win 118-105. So Boston, they've now won each of their first 3 games against the Knicks this season by an average of 21 points a game. That does not bode well for New York long term. These teams have a 49% chance of meeting in the Eastern Conference semis. That's according to ESPN Analytics. Legs, I think that the gap, it seems wide between the Celtics and the New York Knicks here. At the beginning of the season, maybe that wasn't the expectation. How big do you see it?
Huge gap. You're talking about the difference between the Knicks and these 3 teams that they're getting smoked by. They're able to compete with these teams offensively. The problem is all of those teams are elite defensively. The Knicks are not an elite defensive team. And some of it is personnel. Some of it maybe can be scheme at times and things that you can do. But a lot of it is just flat-out effort and toughness. And I think they lack that. When push comes to shove and it has to turn into an alley fight, they don't have it. These are some of the plays I want to point out, because this is just way too easy. Jason Tatum basically goes from 35 feet, finishes with a dunk. He never felt any contact on that play, and nobody within 5 feet when he finishes it. Here's another one in transition. You got Knicks just stopping at the top of the key of the three-point line, running back in transition, and Sam Hauser just runs to an open corner for the easiest shot he's going to get all day. And there's a number of examples similar to that throughout the game. Look, Boston does some things to some teams because they're just too good, but there's other plays like that. That's just not good enough effort, concentration, or attention to detail against these top teams.
Yeah, I think if using geography metaphors here, you ready for that? I think the Celtics were going to maybe see if they were, as the gap was as wide as the Charles with the Knicks, but it turned out it was as wide as the Hudson.
Okay.
Because the Knicks were never competitive in this game. It looks like it was okay with 13. They were blown out in the first quarter. I will say this. The one thing that the Knicks have going for them is they are going to get, at some point, Mitchell Robinson back. Now, he is not going to fix everything, but he will give Tom Thibodeau some options on how he wants to structure his defense, on how he wants to give Karl Towns a sign.
But does that solve their as Perk was yelling the entire game, get out of a drop coverage?
It will allow them to manipulate matchups a little bit better, but it's not going to completely solve their situation.
Okay, so you said they could get back at some point. That's why Shams is here. When could we see Mitchell Robinson return here? And how about Karl Anthony Towns, even in Wednesday's game here after we saw that knee issue? They play against the Sixers.
Yeah, Malik, I'll start with Karl Anthony Towns. I'm told he is fine. He's good with whatever knee issue that appeared. The bigger question for the Knicks, as Brian just said, is that potential ace card, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's an ace card or what it is.
It's more like a jack.
So this is a very important week for Mitchell Robinson. He is very close to a return to action. He's had multiple scrimmages over the last week or so. He's going to have another full scrimmage early this week. And the goal for Mitchell Robinson is to make his Knicks season debut at some point in the next 7 days, from my understanding. And the Knicks could make a determination here at some point this week on when that could be. Mitchell Robinson was their starting center last year. He has the ability to start potentially alongside Karl Anthony Towns, but if nothing else, provide a backup for Karl Anthony Towns, potentially play next to Cat in lineups down the stretch of games, providing that center. We saw Karl-Anthony Towns. Statistically, he's playing better than he did last year. But next to Rudy Gobert, that team went to the Western Conference Finals. And so let's see how potentially that duo looks playing in big games for the Knicks.
Big week for Mitchell Robinson here. But again, Shams is saying in the next 7 days is the hope here. You can see the Knicks in our Wednesday team tries. But they didn't have Luka in any of those efforts here, Brian. So to Denver we go. Early in the first quarter, Doncic gets the rebound, and then the outlet pass to LeBron for the slam. It's such a fun connection to watch. And then here, Doncic pulls up and hits the three. He got it going early. A 16-point first quarter for Doncic, Shams, after only averaging 14 points a game as a Laker entering the night.
That's what we want to see. Luka Doncic being aggressive.
When Luka's smiling, you're in trouble.
It was the Lakers' defense on Nikola Jokic. Legs, what did you see here?
Look, they just had a dedicated game plan where they were going to surround him with bodies. They were going to front him in the post. Anytime you put the ball on the floor, you can see they're either going to come from the baseline on a blitz or they're coming from the high side. The number of people involved on a given possession dedicated to preventing him from catching the ball in position was really unlike anything I've seen on any other post player this season, and the Lakers were able to execute it. And then here you see what it leads to. You get out in the open floor and you're able to run and convert.
Yeah, no one's containing LeBron from catching it there. Luka Doncic hits the step-back three. And so to the third quarter we go. Luka is fired up here. The Lakers out in transition. Austin Reeves a little behind the back pass to LeBron.
They were feeling themselves.
Yes,
they are 15.
They were. And then in the fourth quarter here, Doncic with the steal. And then goes all the way, gets inside for the layup. So now 4.5 to play here. The Lakers starting to run away with this. Up 18. Doncic dribbles to the baseline here and hits a really difficult floater. Doncic finished with 32 points. The Lakers get the win, 123-100. Here's J.J. Redick in the locker room after the game.
This morning we talked about going to war. Be willing to die on the court. All right, I was so amped today. I should have been able to take a nap. I couldn't sleep last night. I was up till 5 a.m. I couldn't even nap today. Pre-game, I'm laying on the floor doing my breathing exercise. I'm envisioning what our team is going to play like. And you guys went even higher. You went even higher. And frankly, our conviction and our belief in the game plan, the bench was great. Everybody contributed. Luka, it's good to have you back. Yes, sir. It's good to have you back. First team all defense. First team all defense. Rui, Vando, Doe, Bron, all you guys that were primarily, you were on 3 possessions, whatever. Everybody that was on Jokic was awesome tonight. That was great. Last thing. Talk all season long about our belief and our conviction, okay? Hope that was fun. If we play that hard for the rest of the regular season, we're going to be just fine. That should build your belief. It built my belief in what we can accomplish, all right? It was awesome. Let's go.
That was awesome. I love that look inside the locker room because you can see, JJ, he's a self-proclaimed basketball sicko saying that he can't take a nap. He's envisioning this. But, Tim, it worked, and it has worked for the Lakers since January 15th. They've been the best team in the NBA. Why is that?
Well, I think, look, number one, he has ideas, right? He always has. He had them for years before he took any job, but now he's able to implement them, and he's got certain ways to see the game. But here's the thing that I think has surprised us about this team. It was their ability to come up with game plans that are this effective defensively and pull it off based on what their personnel looks like. That, I think, is what was a little bit eye-opening. And here's an example. It starts here, impeding any sort of cut. Don't make it easy for him to move. Then on the weak side, you got another bump here so he can't just roll into the post. Let's go ahead, and that initial defender, he's run all the way to the other side of the court where you got a front and you've got a guy behind. Now, look, the spacing's not great, and these guys aren't looking at the rim. But here's the final opportunity. Is Jokic going to flash there and get the ball? Look at the play by Jackson Hayes. Always aware. Aaron Gordon not looking at the rim helps out the Lakers, but bottom line is you can see Jokic, he starts to show a little bit of body language there on this possession. It's frustrating being bottled up to that extent. Takes incredible amount of dedication to it and attention to detail. Like any mistakes made against him, he's going to get position leverage and he's going to score easily. They didn't make those mistakes, and you barely noticed Nikola Jokic involved in the game offensively, and I can't even believe I'm saying that sentence.
First off, I'd like to commend the Lakers social team with the low-angle hero shot from JJ. Ridley Scott.
It did give me a little bit of the Court of Gold vibes of
without question. Beautiful
yeah.
job done. Victories all around. Secondly, you mentioned their best record since January 15th.
Yes.
They've been the #1 defense since January 15th. And this, Malika, is what has my attention. 2 years ago, when the Lakers made that run to the Western Conference Finals, the indicator on that they were going to make a run was that they were the #1 defensive team in the NBA after they made those trade deadline deals.
Right.
I cannot believe that they are playing this well defensively with being so small in the middle. Now, they have great size on the perimeter, and J.J. Redick is employing a scheme that is using that size. Now, I have to see how the teams in the league react to this because they're seeing some new stuff from the Lakers, and they'll adjust. If this was a playoff series with the Nuggets, we would see an adjustment for Game 2 with Jokic.
Good at. That's what JJ is
I
so
know.
good
So
at.
What has my attention isn't so much Luka. I know Luka is great. I know he's going to score. What has my attention is how they're defending. And the stat that sticks out to me from that game, Nikola Jokic only got 7 shots. He only was able to take 7 shots.
It was his worst
That's
offensive game of the season.
Remarkable.
To me, JJ Redick and that Luka Doncic relationship and how they're able to have fun. And JJ Redick is probably the only coach that's able to really rib on Luka Doncic on a daily basis about defense and needing to see more defense out of Luka Doncic. Last night, season high, 4 steals. That's what I'm looking at. Their defensive efficiency, maybe the first game, they struggled with Luka Doncic there. But I think the more he gets his rhythm, the more he gets his repetition, this Lakers team is looking like it has the ability to be very competitive in the West.
As Tim was breaking down that film, though, the amount of effort that takes on every single play to contain Nikola Jokic. And in a 7-game series, the adjustments that are going to be made. I think last night represents getting over some sort of boogeyman for the Los Angeles Lakers, but the sustainability of that effort, that's going to be the question. It's not just the relationship, though, that JJ has with Luka Doncic. It's also the relationship LeBron has with Luka. Here's LeBron on just that.
I'm a natural-born wide receiver, and he's a natural-born quarterback, so it fits perfectly. I've been running the floor and running lanes pretty much my whole life, and he's been throwing great passes pretty much his whole life. So it's not hard to get a rhythm when it comes to that. It's just all about eye contact and him being the great quarterback like he is, and me being the recipient of it. So.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more, shall we? The Lakers, they specifically put the ball in Luka's hands on Saturday. According to Second Spectrum, Doncic has an average touch length of 5.6 seconds. That's up from 3.4 seconds in his first 3 games with the Lakers. That's also his second highest average touch length in a game this season. And for anyone at home who's sort of glazing over these numbers just a little bit and saying, okay, what does all of that mean, Brian? How much does LeBron view running the offense through Luka as a benefit here?
It's not just a benefit, it's a necessity.
Okay.
Luka is not built to play off the ball. LeBron can play off the ball. Austin Reeves can play off the ball. It's not ideal. Austin Reeves is better on the ball, so they're going to have segments of the game where he gets to run things. But for them to maximize their team, the ball's got to be in Luka's hands. This is the 25-year-old who's one of the most elite scorers in the history of the league. He got to that level by having the ball in his hands. I figured that they were going to get to this point no matter what. I just didn't think it would come this fast. They have delivered the message now. And look, you want to get into LeBron's heart, help him get easy baskets. He's spent the last 6 years of the Lakers largely having to create his own shots. Luka will get LeBron easy baskets. That means LeBron will let Luka cook with the ball.
So you say it's a necessity, but it's also a necessity, right, Legs? Help me make sense of this, because you can't really reverse it. It can't be LeBron who is doing the cutting. Explain.
That's exactly right. Listen, when you have 2 guys that operate this way offensively, it's only going to work if one of those guys is willing to cut off the ball on the weak side of the floor, or at least be a threat to do it, and run the floor. That's not Luka. He's not going to move without the ball in terms of making cuts and weak side slashing. He just doesn't do that, and he's not going to run the floor and get out ahead of the pack where he can take advanced passes. So it's just natural that Luka is the guy that's going to orchestrate and control, and LeBron James is willing, certainly, as he said it, he's going to like getting some of these easy baskets in the open floor as much as he has to work to score normally. But the other thing is, in the half court, LeBron, just the threat of him on the weak side, it makes you defensively have to keep an eye on him. and turn and see where he is, and it occupies you. That allows Luka Doncic to go initiate the original action on the strong side. If Luka's over there, you don't have to worry about it as much until the ball is swung to him, because he is not going to face cut you, catch it in the lane, and finish. LeBron will do those things, and that's why it's just natural for him to be off the basketball, and I think they came to that conclusion pretty quickly.
And figuring all of that out against the boogeyman for the Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, ahead of their first game against Luka's former team, the Dallas Mavericks, all of this coming together, it couldn't be a more perfect time here for Los Angeles. We're going to get back to the Lakers later in the show, but let's move on for now to Texans. So with the loss, though, the 76ers, they fell below the Nets into the 6th worst record in the NBA. That could be important on draft day, as the 76ers, they will keep their 2025 pick only if it lands in the top 6. They would have a 46% chance of keeping their pick if they finish with the 6th worst record here.
They are done. This season is over. The city knows it. There's no brotherly love for the Sixers. Lose? Sit Joel Embiid for the rest of the season, like Perk was saying last year. Sit Paul George while you're at it, and just be done with it and prepare for the next 3 years, because this season is a joke. Nobody gives a damn about the Sixers because we know they're not healthy.
Okay. Stephen A. made his thoughts very clear about the Sixers this season on NBA Countdown. Legs, what do you think the Sixers need to do here?
Yeah, look, I think there's some validity to taking a serious look at shutting Joel Embiid down. I mean, he just is continuing to look worse and worse. He's got less mobility. He's a non-factor defensively, really. And it's obvious, and by his own words, this isn't going to just improve with the normal protocol that they're following right now, because it hasn't really helped to this point. So what are you really accomplishing by continuing to run him out there when he's probably playing at 60, 65%? I think they need to start having serious discussions about it. It gives you a head start on next season, and hopefully salvaging something in your return as an organization over the last few years of his contract, because it's not happening this year. That's pretty obvious by the way he looks physically.
Yeah, you're not the only one to say that. Obviously, Stephen A. has called for this. Kendrick Perkins has called for this. But, Shams, what more can you tell us about the Sixers' plans here for Embiid?
The 76ers and Joel Embiid right now are in the process of consulting with doctors, looking over his imaging on his injured left knee, and they're going to collaborate after reviews, after consultations. They're going to collaborate with specialists on figuring out the best path forward. They're going to have to work together on the solution. No one really knows yet if there's a silver bullet, if there's just going to be an easy fix, because this is something Joel Embiid has been dealing with all season. He's tried multiple different treatments throughout the course of the season. His knee just has not gotten right. I'm told he's tried regular and frequent injections in that knee. And this is a player that still remains under contract with the 76ers for several more years. He's been the cornerstone of this team. So the 76ers, I think they're going to take a look here today, tomorrow, this week. They're going to have to do what's best and what's smart with Joel Embiid and this organization. Because think about it, even after Saturday night's loss against the Nets, Joel Embiid reported swelling in his knee on Sunday, could not practice on Sunday. I don't expect him to play tonight, clearly. And so we're going to see here soon at some point what the 76ers and Joel Embiid will do.
This is just a decision tree. They're in 12th place right now. The whole concept of their team is, can they get healthy enough so if they get into the play and they can make a run? If Joel Embiid is not going to be there, then you have to look at the other alternative, which is looking at their draft pick. This is a situation that doesn't normally affect teams are looking at tanking or not, but this is a different scenario. Top 6, you keep your pick. 7 or down, you don't. Look at the difference. The difference between being in 5th place and the difference in being in 7th is huge. Just look at 7th and 8th. Right now, they're in 6th. They are 3 games in the loss column, quote unquote, back of the Raptors. They should take steps not only to protect Joel Embiid going forward, but to ensure that they keep that pick. They can do their best to do it. Anybody, you don't need to be a consultant to be highly paid to come in and assess the situation. Just look at the percentages. Look at the reality. They have to do it. It wasn't something that they wanted to do. It doesn't mean that they're bad people, but it's a no-brainer when you look at this situation.
Yeah, the team was put together, as you alluded to be able to withstand some sort of Joel Embiid missing a couple of games here or Paul George missing a couple of games there. there. It wasn't built to put up with everything that they had to this season. They faced the Chicago Bulls tonight, and as Shams is reporting, we do not expect to see Joel Embiid in that game. Shams, before we let you go, one of the biggest stories of this past week was the health of Victor Wembanyama. And while we're talking about the San Antonio Spurs, that's not the only health incident that this team has had to contend with this year. Greg Popovich, he suffered a stroke back in November. What more can you tell us about his condition and how he's recovering?
Yeah, Malika, sources tell me that Greg Popovich is not expected to return to the sideline as coach this season. His future clearly has some uncertainty to it. On a human level, though, I'm told Greg Popovich is continuing to progress in his rehab, getting stronger and stronger in his recovery from that mild stroke he suffered back in November. There's going to be a time and place for Greg Popovich to address his long-term future, but in the short term this season, the Spurs are expected to move forward, continue on with Mitch Johnson as the interim head coach.
Okay.
Greg Popovich, 76 years old, the all-time winningest coach in NBA history. He's a legend.
And at 76 years old, saying that he is making those strides in recovery, that is the most important thing, because he is